Good day, everyone. Today we will be discussing the different fishing grounds in the Philippines. Particularly, we will be talking about the different seas, different bays, gulfs, channels, straits, and the inland bodies of water that are situated in the Philippines. And also, we will be touching a little bit of the important fishing grounds that serve as ecological niche for most commercially important species. First we have here the Philippines or the major and minor fishing grounds in the Philippines. Let's start with the seas. So, in the Philippines, we have the eight major seas with their corresponding areas and corresponding locations. This is arranged according to the size or the vastness of the sea. So, first, our largest sea is the West Sulu Sea, which accounts for about 29,992.50 square kilometers. This is situated in Palawan. And secondly, the South Sulu Sea is about 12,642, which is bordered between Zamboanga del Sur, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. The third largest is the East Sulu Sea, which is about 9,288 square kilometers. This is situated between Negros and Zamboanga del Norte. The fourth largest sea in the Philippines is the Sibuyan Sea, which is about 8,127. This is situated between Aklan, Masbate, and Romblon. The fifth largest is the Bohol Sea, which is about 17,946 square kilometers, obviously situated in Bohol. The sixth is the Samar Sea, which is about 3,870 square kilometers, situated in Samar, Masbate, and Leyte. Seven is the Visayan Sea, which is about 3,096 square kilometers, situated in Panay, Negros, Cebu, and Masbate. The last sea in the Philippines is the Camotes Sea, which is about 2,476.80 square kilometers, situated between Cebu, Leyte, and Bohol. So those are our major seas in the Philippines. And please also take note and memorize all of this because part of your task will be some sort of recitation, blindfolded recitation, with the major seas, major bays, major gulfs in the Philippines with specific locations and their corresponding areas. Right? So those are the major seas in the Philippines. Next are the bays. So in the Philippines we have numerous or about 76 bays in the Philippines. First is the Lamon Bay, second is the Tayabas Bay, third is the Iliana Bay with their corresponding areas and locations. Manila Bay, Sibugay Bay, Iligan Bay, Imuran Bay, San Miguel Bay, Tawi-Tawi Bay, and Butuan Bay. So with regards to the bays, the task that I have mentioned a while ago, the bays will be memorized up to the top 10 only. No, as I mentioned, there are about 76 bays in the Philippines, but you will be memorizing blindfoldedly the top 10 with their corresponding areas and their corresponding locations, right? So I'll be giving you a copy of this one. This is basically posted in the Google Classroom, so you could browse the material in there and start memorizing. You will be uploading your video um, reciting all of these fishing grounds in the Philippines. So I will just run through all the bays in the Philippines. So here we have the 21 to 40. 40 is the Iran Bay in Palawan, and then the Lopez Bay is the 60 in Quezon, and then about the last bay identified in the Philippines is the Dingalan Bay, is located in Aurora. Right? So those are the 76 bays in the Philippines. Now let's proceed to another type of bodies of water. So the next one is another type of body of water which is considered or said to be the gulfs, no? But before we proceed with the list, no, let us first describe or differentiate the bay from the gulf. So basically, Both of these are inlet to sea. No, these are both Gulf and bays are inlet to the sea. The only difference is that the bays are quite wider, wider inlet, while the gulfs are deeper inlets. So those are the only difference between the two, right? So they are, when we say compare, the similarity, you will be discussing the similarity. So meaning to say, they are both inlet of the sea. With regards to differentiate, compare, and contrast, when we say contrast, this is where the two words that you are comparing and contrasting with goes into different definitions. So here comes with the wider bay and the deeper gulf, right? So in the Philippines, we have 9 major gulfs, right? So this is still arranged according to the size or the wider areas. So first, the largest gulf that is in the Philippines is situated in Zamboanga del Sur, Maguindanao, and Sultan Kudarat for about 12,900 square kilometers. This is the Moro Gulf, followed with the Davao Gulf for about 4,024 square kilometers, bordered with the provinces of Davao del Sur, Davao del Norte, and Davao Oriental. And third is the Ragay Gulf, about 3,225 in Camarines Sur and Quezon. And the fourth one is the Leyte Gulf, about 2,724 square kilometers, situated in Leyte Island and Samar Island. And then followed with Panay, Lingayen, Lagunoy Gulf, Acid Gulf, and Albay Gulf. So as I've said, you will also be reciting the 9 gulfs of the Philippines, including their specific locations and total areas, right? Now let us proceed to the channels, the different channels of the Philippines. Now, let us first basically differentiate, because we will also be touching, perhaps we will be touching some of the straits, yeah, the straits and the channel. So the straits and channels are basically just a passage or and body of water that separates two major bodies of water, usually seas. No, when the two seas are situated in different areas, the area between there, the passage between there is basically considered either a channel or a strait. Usually a channel is wider than a strait, right? I hope that's clear. Right, so first, the largest channel in the Philippines is situated in the Cagayan and Babuyan Islands. It is called the Babuyan Channel, which is about 3,000 rather, 3,612 square kilometers. Followed by the Hintutulu Channel, 280 square kilometers. And then the third one is the Makida Channel, 129 square kilometers, situated in Camarines Sur and Catanduanes. Now, with regards to your task, no, I will allow you to recite only those bodies of water that has specific areas, right, or a specific total vastness, no. So with that note, you will be memorizing only the third major channels of the Philippines, right? So although there are 6, no, but you are already only required to memorize these 3. Okay, so apart from these 3 major channels, we also have the Lumbukan Channel. We don't have the data that yet with regards to their area. Followed by the Balintang Channel, and then 6 is the Basi Channel. Okay, so those are the different channels. Now, let us proceed to the straits. The straits are basically, again, the area that separates 2 major areas or 2 major bodies of water, usually seas. Now, the difference between channels and straits is that channels are a bit wider, while the straits are a bit narrower, right? So here we have the 5, no, the top 5, or the Tablas Strait, Mindoro Strait, Tanyon Strait, Cebu Strait, and Iloilo Strait. With regards to the area, this is still arranged according to the largest to lowest. and these are their specific locations. Now, as I've said, I'll be providing um, handouts for you to have a reference on this one, but still you will be reciting up to the top 5 straits of the Philippines. Okay, so those are the 14 straits of the Philippines, and then here we have the passes, or passages rather. So the passages, we have the top two, Boreas Pass and Tikyao Pass. Tikao Pass. The Boreas Pass is about 1,393.20 square kilometers located in Boreas Island, Camarines Sur. And the second is the Tikao Pass. This is about 804.75 located in Tikao Island and Sorsogon. Okay, so these are basically the two major passages in the Philippines. Okay, so you will also be memorizing the top two. As I've said, you will be memorizing or reciting only those fishing grounds that has total area. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now let us proceed to the area and location of the major fishing grounds of the Philippines. Now, if you cannot see the screen clearly, you could take a look at the handouts that I have posted in the Google Classroom, no, so that you can take a look at the specific locations of these fishing grounds with regards to the regional distribution or regional reclassification of these fishing grounds with the corresponding data of the area expressed in square kilometers. So I will just run through on this one. These are the fishing grounds in the NCR, the Manila Bay, and then the Region 1, Region 2, and so on and so forth. So I will just run through this. You will be taking a look at this in a closer look and have a familiarization on what particular fishing ground are located in your respective provinces. Okay? The Region 6, Region 7, Region 9, and so on and so forth. So those are the major fishing grounds of the Philippines classified according to regions. Okay. By the way, this classification of the major and minor fishing grounds as classified by region will not be included in the recitation. So that's a good note for you. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we will also be tackling on some of the schematic territorial boundaries and bathymetry fishing grounds of the Philippines. So this is arranged according to the depth, no? The darker the color it appear, the deeper the fishing ground is. So here we have about a 0, meaning to say this is a sea level. 0 to 200 is the red colored areas. About light blue is about 200 to 1,000 meter depths, no? So basically here we have the major fishing grounds in the Philippines. Mostly are ranges from 200 to how much? We don't have deeper water areas that reaches about 10,000 what do you call this? 10,000 meters deep, no? Meron tayo dyan mga different classifications of the bathymetry. We have already discussed the bathymetry in the previous lecture. Right, now taking a look at the other graph, we have here the Philippine archipelago with the municipal waters delineated to 15 kilometers offshore as stipulated in the Republic Act 8550, or otherwise known as the Philippine Fisheries Code. Okay, so I hope that you are already aware that we have the new amended Philippine Fisheries Code, which is the RA 10654. Okay, so these are the delineated municipal waters in the Philippines as stipulated in the RA 8550. So if you take a look at the closer picture of this one, you could see that each municipality are allotted with 15 kilometers offshore to be declared as the municipal waters. Okay, so I will just run through on this one. And then here we have another graph, is the pelagic fishing grounds of the Philippines. So basically this is This is the survey that they conducted with regards to the type of the fishing gears that is being used in these respective fishing grounds. So this is the deep water porcining pelagic areas, these areas here, and the darker ones are basically the shoreline water and porcining. Okay, so it varies according to the types of species that is being caught and the type of fishing gears that is being utilized to extract those wild aquatic resources. And then here we have the inferred migratory route of some tuna species passing through the fishing grounds of the Philippines. This is taken from the article of Morgan and Valencia 1983. Okay, so basically tunas migrate from the eastern coast of California, deflected to the western coast of California, deflected to the eastern coast of the Philippines or the Southeast Asia, and then it will be distributed throughout the Indonesia and some other parts of the Southeast Asian countries. And some of them will be deflected up towards the Kuroshio Current. I know that you're well aware on the different ocean currents of the world, no, the world ocean currents, no, the equatorial current, the equatorial counter current, the Kuroshio current, the California current, and so etc. etc. Okay, so this is the pattern in which these tuna are being are migrating. No, these are their migratory route. And here we have in the next figure we have the tuna distribution of the Philippine distribution in the fishing areas of the Philippines, taken from the article of Alcala et al. 2003. So the distribution of tuna is expressed according to these areas. No, these are the borders in which tuna are commonly found, as reflected in the article of Morgan and Valencia. They are situated mostly in the southwestern part of the Philippines. Okay, so this is basically the southwestern part of the Philippines. In the next figure, we have the fish distribution in fishing areas of the Philippines, taken still from the work of Alcala et al. 2003. Okay, so these are the specific legends that you could see. Here we have the blue marlin, the manta ray, and the other commercially important species that are normally found in the different fishing grounds of the Philippines. So if you have time, you could search the article of Alcala et al. 2013. And then going forward, we have here the live food fishing in the Philippines, fishing areas in the Philippines, taken from the work of Mamawag 2004. This is basically just major reef areas here, and the minor reef areas are represented in the smaller fish legends. Okay, so the major reef areas are located in the mostly in the eastern part of the Philippines, no, in which it faces the Pacific Ocean, no. So basically, we have rich fishing grounds or reef areas in the just about between Siargao, Dinagat, and Leyte, no? And then here in the eastern Cagayan, I guess, and eastern Albay, and then some other part of the western Palawan. Okay. Now, in the next figure, we have the commercial and municipal squid fishing areas and fishing seasons in the Philippines. So the squid are, however, located mostly in the eastern part of the Philippines, as well as the some portions of Misamis Oriental and Misamis Occidental and Lanao del Norte, and some other areas in Palawan. But mostly, squids are situated in areas where it faces the Pacific Ocean. Okay, again in the eastern part of the Philippines. Now, the next figure tells you the crab fishing areas of the Philippines, taken from the work of Ingles 2004. This is basically the wild capture of crabs are predominantly recorded. No, you could take a closer look on this one if you're having a hard time on identifying which part of the Philippines has the major crab fishing areas. Okay, the next map tells you the dogfish sharks fishing areas of the Philippines, taken from the work of Flores 2004. Okay, so dogfish sharks are situated mostly in the central, um, the southern part of Luzon and some other parts of the eastern Visayas. Okay, so these are the specific locations where dogfish sharks are commonly observed. And then here we have the dugong distribution in fishing areas of the Philippines, still from the work of Alcala et al. 2003. No? So here we have the dots that signifies that these are basically the areas in which the dugong are usually recorded. And then the citation distribution of the Philippines are expressed here in the yellow, oranged color area. So mostly in the northern part, or the area between Mindanao and Visayas, and some portions of the southern part of Palawan, and some other parts of southern of Quezon. I guess this is Quezon. Okay, so those are the distribution of the commercially important fish species. Now, last picture tells you the heavily exploited fishing grounds of the Philippines, taken from the article of Green et al. 2003. The red one signifies or indicates the highest or very high or very heavily exploited areas in the Philippines. No, so you could observe here that most of our fisher folks are extracting too much effort, exerting too much effort in these areas, and yet when we take a look at back those areas and the distribution areas of those commercially important species, it really appears that there is a less coordination between the law enforcement agencies and the ordinary people in general. I'm not saying that there is really no communication at all, but generally you could see here that most of the heavily exploited areas are basically not the areas in which those commercially important species are usually recorded. Okay. Now, in the next slide, we have the world major marine fishing areas. We are not just focusing on the Philippines fishing areas only, but the world major marine areas, marine fishing areas. No? Only marine. The 18th is the Arctic Sea, 21 is the Atlantic Northwest, and then the list goes on as you go to number 88. So these are basically the world major marine areas. So the heavily exploited the world major marine areas near to the Philippines is the number 71, or the Pacific Western Central. All right. So those are the major marine fishing areas in the Philippines, or the world rather. Now, part of your oral recitation, blindfolded oral recitation, will be the recitation on the area and location of the major lakes in the Philippines. Just the top 10, right? So I could memorize it for you right now, but I wanted you to memorize among yourselves, no? Itong top 10, the top 1 is Laguna de Bay. By the way, this is pronounced as Bay, not Bay. Lanao, Taal, Mainit, Nauhan, Buluan, Batu, Buhi, Davao, and Cebu, with their corresponding total area and expressed in hectares and their corresponding locations in which they are found. So apart from the seas, the gulf, the bays, the straits, the channels, the passages, you will also be memorizing the top 10 major lakes of the Philippines. So from Laguna de Bay up to the Lake Cebu, Cebu Lake. Okay? So those are the major lakes of the Philippines. Now in Marawi, we have the second largest, which is the Lake Lanao. and it is the country's deepest lake. No, it is the deepest lake, and it is the second largest lake. It's about 34,700 hectares, obviously situated overlooked in the MSU in Marawi City, Lanao del Sur. Okay, and then here we have the location map for the lakes in the Philippines. No, perhaps I'll be giving some. It would be better if we will have a face-to-face assessment on your examination, because I could utilize this particular type of exam wherein I'll be pointing some of the areas in the Philippines, and you're going to identify what kind of fishing ground that is. So here we have, if you take a look at those different fishing grounds, you will see that these fishing grounds are basically expressed or listed in the list of fishing grounds I have shown you earlier. Okay, so you just run through as I post the PDF file of this PowerPoint in the Google Classroom. And then here we have the location of the lakes by regions of the Philippines. So those lakes that I have shown you earlier, these 23 lakes are classified according to the different lakes found in the specific locations of the regions across the Philippines. Okay, so thank you again for joining up to this session, and I hope you have picked up something from this video. And as mentioned, you will be giving some sort of blindfolded oral recitation, each one of you. So again, thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see you in the next video.